Hey guys, welcome to another Sunday live. It is 7 o'clock, so we moved the time to 7 o'clock. I'm on my iPad. I've been having trouble with my desktop. I'm trying to get my desktop working. It's not working, so I couldn't wait no longer for us to kind of start this live off. Hopefully, you guys are joining me tonight. If not, I totally understand. We shifted the time again, so you might be confused about as far as the time to join us. Also, it is later than 7 o'clock because I'm having computer troubles. Nonetheless, let's just talk about what we're kind of seeing in the market. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the channel, and don't forget to share it to somebody that might want to hear some of this information. So, as always, I want to make sure I am able to. Okay, perfect. All right, so perfect. So we know that we're live. So if you guys are watching this on the playback, let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know how did you get over to the channel, and remember, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me see. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? So my desktop is acting retarded, so I'm on my iPad, so I won't be able to pull up any of the articles. So I'll be reading them from my phone. I don't know why all of a sudden my desktop decided that it didn't want to work today, but now it doesn't want to work. So we'll be talking from the phone. So basically, I had a lot of information, a lot of data that I wanted to show on the screen today. Can't show it. Put up so much stuff on my iPad for us to kind of go through and review. Can't show it because I can't stream it from. It doesn't allow me to show the articles on my iPad. So we will be reading through the phone and having a conversation today because my desktop computer just is not working. You pay so much money for these Apple products and they're trash. So sorry to say that, Apple, but the products are trash. All right, so let's just go on to it before I go on this random tangent about how trash technology is nowadays and also how horrible everything we're consuming nowadays is, even though you pay so much more money for it. All right, so the article we're jumping in today is in regards to real estate news, and it's basically talking about how the market is shifting in regards to we're kind of leaning into a buyer's market now. And again, if you guys are just joining me, I won't be able to pull up any of the articles, so I will be reading from the phone. So don't mind me if I look down. We'll only be on here until 8 o'clock. I'm not going to go no longer, and I apologize that I came late today, but because of the technical difficulties, I'm not going past 8 o'clock. so yeah, so it says the article basically says it is finally a buyer's market. It says it's talking about how we are seeing a shift in the market. So if you are a home seller, you want to make sure you are really watching the market. If you're trying to sell your home right now, really understanding the market, talking to a real estate professional, because you're not going to be able to get what you got, what your neighbors might have got about 2 or 3 years ago for their house. Okay, so in this market, this is a market where I tell people don't be greedy. If you definitely have to sell, be very mindful, and don't be greedy. A lot of sellers are. Hey, what's going on, David? How you doing? Thanks for joining me tonight. So my desktop computer from Apple is horrible tonight, so I will be reading everything off the phone because I'm on my iPad. And when I'm on an iPad, I can't share any of the articles. So hopefully stick around with me tonight. The first couple minutes of this video was me going on a tangent about how horrible technology is in these Apple products nowadays. But I know we're not here to talk about that. We talk about real estate. So I'll be reading off my phone, and please join in the conversation. But basically, again, talking about how we're seeing the shift if you're a home seller, and as far as buyers, and we'll kind of dip into the whole thing about buyers too, because what I'm seeing as well, I'm not sure if you're seeing this on your end, David, because I know your market is totally different than this Sun Belt region, but even with prices going lower, some of the people are still not buying. There's some of these buyers are still sitting on the sideline, even with the. Let me see if this works on my desktop. Even with the prices kind of adjusting down. So it says the market shifts seen in some regions of the country appear to have gone national. They said for the first time since the pandemic, it's a buyer's market, according to new data from Redfin. So we'll talk about the Redfin data as well. Um, we'll talk about the Redfin data as well. It says in April, sellers outnumbered buyers by nearly 34%, the highest percentage in more than a decade, according to Redfin in a new May 29 report. They said the conclusion is buyers now have the advantage, while the ratio of sellers to buyers have been expanding since late 2023. They said the pace has quickened. Last year, at this time, there were just 6.5 more sellers 2 years ago than there were buyers than sellers. And now it says, it's kind of just letting us know that the market is shifting. What did David say? David said, I saw it this weekend. I could definitely see a drastic drop in activity. Okay. Yeah, down here in Georgia, like I keep talking about it over and over again. Of course, right? Well, because people are asking me in regards to trying to buy in this market, and at the end of the day, you can't time when you do stuff in life, right? Whether you buy, whether whatever you do decide that you had plans on doing, you can't time stuff. So it's whatever is ideal for you as a person. That's how you kind of go about things, right? So I can't never, and I don't know, maybe some people might feel like too, because I don't never give them a direct answer and I just give them like education, some data that I'm seeing, information. They might feel like, well, Devon, does he understand what's going on? Is he a good realtor? Because he's not giving me a direct information, like a direct response. But I can't give you a direct response because everybody's way of moving through life is different and everybody's journey is different. So somebody might feel like it's not the best time to do anything, whether it be buy or sell. Other people might feel like it's great for them to do so. So I don't know, but I'm just letting you guys know what I'm seeing in the market of Georgia per se. It says where markets have flipped. So they're showing some regions where markets have flipped. Now my computer, my desktop. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm like over here on my desktop and my iPad at the same time. So my desktop is popping up the all the windows per se, as far as that I was trying to open up on it. It says some regions have already seen market changes. The Bright MLS survey. So I know with the Bright MLS survey, I know up in like the Pennsylvania area and Jersey area, they kind of use the Bright MLS. In April, found that conditions had improved significantly for buyers in the Mid-Atlantic region. So Jersey and all that stuff. Let's see what's going on. Hey, what's going on, Croy? As I mentioned before, my computer is acting crazy, my desktop, so I won't be able to share some of these articles. I might be able to switch in the mid of this live. Hopefully I can, over if my computer starts acting good, but if not, I'll be reading some of these articles off my phone. I'm doing okay. A little frustrated that the computer is acting crazy, but I'm doing okay. He said, I'm learning so much from watching your videos. I appreciate you watching the videos. If you ever have any questions, just reach out, and if I can answer them, I will. If not, I'll try my best to get somebody that can. But I appreciate you joining us live tonight. David said, you really can't. Everybody is in a different situation. Exactly. Everybody's in a different situation. So it's kind of hard to tell people, certain things. All I can do is just educate and inform people. That's all. So the article then goes on to say in several Florida metros. So of course we've been hearing a lot about Florida. Of course they've been aiming a lot towards Florida because of the disasters that's going on in Florida, and then also higher insurance costs, HOA fees with these condos. There's so much going on down here in Georgia. We're seeing a rise of like the HOA fees, property taxes in certain areas. So I don't know, you guys. I don't know. You got to see what's comfortable for yourself, right? It says sellers have been reducing. Hey, Lang. Hey, good evening. Good evening. Hey, Lang. So, like I told everybody else, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep saying this disclaimer. I'm on my iPad today, so the articles won't be able to pull up right away on the screen, but hopefully we can switch over. It says sellers have been reducing prices to entice buyers. Of the 10 strongest buyers markets in Redfin's report, 6 were Florida. They said Miami, West Palm, and Fort Lauderdale claimed the top 3 spots, with sellers outnumbering buyers by nearly 200%. It says agents have noticed the shift too. 35% of agents in the Real's March sentiment survey said their market favored buyers versus 32% who reported it was still a seller's market. To me, I feel like Georgia is more favoring a buyer's market now. You'll get some agents that might tell you it's a seller's market still. Again, everything does become very local to, the down to even the city. The area, the school district, it can be very local where things could be um, kind of shift to that seller's market per se or buyer's market. I know both of the areas that I have clients in regards to sellers, they are both of their areas are at a buyer's market. So hey Zarinthia, they're both at a buyer's market. So and it's shifting, you guys. And at the end of the day, like we'll go into another report, even with the shift happening as far as it's kind of shifting more down here in the Sun Belt area. Let me preference this in more of in my region in Georgia, the Sun Belt area. Also, as your local professional, see what they're kind of seeing in their market. But I know where I'm at, I'm seeing the shift and it's happening. The problem is, and we're going to talk about it, is that even with the shift happening, can people still afford the homes? Even with the sellers, let's say the sellers that who are understanding that the market is shifting, and even if they are working with a real estate professional and they're putting their house on the market to reflect the current housing market around them, they're still sitting down here in Georgia, even at what the market is kind of showing them. The houses are still sitting, and then they're having to reduce costs even more, because at the end of the day, the interest rates are still holding steady at the 6 and the 7 per se, depending on if you're a conventional FHA, and it might even raise higher. I don't want to kind of talk a lot about the politics behind it per se, but Trump is trying to make, I think it's Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, to kind of go public per se. And if they go public, I don't know what that could cause on the mortgage situation. They've been talking about how the bond market, the treasury, and all that stuff is kind of, they're seeing like a little crack in there. And so it could be very interesting, and that could probably cost, if so, it could probably make the mortgage the mortgage rates per se for housing might go up higher. So we don't know what'll happen. Let me see. I'm gonna try to see if I can log onto my desktop as well. I'm trying to do that all by talking with you guys, but now my computer is acting crazy again. But so it says the balance of power in the U.S. housing market has shifted towards buyers, but not a lot of sellers um, have yet to see or accept the writing on the wall. So there are some sellers, and um, I don't want to kind of put people out there, but I know sellers that are not understanding what's going on. I get it. I understand, as a seller, you feel like, I want to sell my house for what my neighbor got a year ago or 2 or 3 years ago. I'm going to be honest with you guys. If your market is not one of those markets, excuse me, it's not one of those markets where you can kind of risk that. And if you feel like you need to sell your house because of circumstances, you need to price it probably either accordingly to the market, aggressively to the market, or just a little under it, just to try to see if you can get something going on. I know some agents will tell you go higher in order to kind of shift it down. I feel like you got to assess your market. If you know that things are not moving quickly in this market, it's like, and you really trying to sell and you have to go quickly, and if you can't get one of these iBuyers, which are like, these investor buyers, let's say like Open Door, or those people to kind of buy your house, because a lot of these, even these investor buyers like Open Door, OfferPad, what is it, Padly, all these companies that were out here buying houses and everything, they've started to limit how they're buying houses from sellers. I had a person that I was working with, and they were like, and they just needed to move real quickly, and I was like, well, if we do it, what way do you want to do it? Because what we're seeing in this market right now, I can't promise you, and I never promise no sellers this, and I don't want to fear tactic nobody, so please don't take this as a fear tactic, but I don't promise a seller this at all. I never say, oh, I can get your house sold in 2 or 3 days. No, I can't sell your house in 2 or 3 days. I tell every seller I work with is like, hey, I'm going to help you get your house sold, but what I can promise is that I'm going to work hard on my end to put in the work to help you get your house sold. I don't never promise them how quickly it's going to sell, or when it's going to sell. I can just promise them, from what I can do as a person physically, is I can work hard on my end, whether it be reaching out, to other agents, brokerages, having open houses, whether it is, reverse prospecting, calling agents, reaching out, putting flyers up, all those type of things, social media, whatever we can do. The best thing that I can do, because I can physically control what I can do as a person, right? I can't control what the market's going to do. I can't control what a person that might want to buy is going to do. I can't control that. So I don't never lead with that. I know a lot of people might get led with that, but hey, everybody's different. They might be able to do that for you, but I don't never lead with that because that's not something that I can personally promise you. So I won't, I can't lead with that. Sorry. MHOA, my deepest and sincerest apology for being late. That's okay, MHOA. I was late myself, and as I had mentioned on the stream, I'm having technical difficulties with my desktop computer today. I'm still over here trying to log on and see if I can get on my desktop. So if anybody's watching this back from the beginning, you'll probably hear me go on a whole tangent about how technology sucks and how Apple is getting worse because my products is Apple. But needless to say, let's get back to this housing market. So don't worry. I appreciate everybody just for jumping on and taking the time out of everyone's day to be involved in this conversation. So I will be reading out of my phone. So don't mind me if I'm looking down. Like I said, I'm gonna try to as well to see if I can shift over to my desktop. So then that way it'll be a little bit better for us. But so we can see the articles together. Hey, what's going on, Angela? Thanks for joining us. So let's get back to this in regards to, it says the balance of power in the U.S. housing market is shifting. It says many are still talking about the sellers. It says many sellers are still holding out hope that their home is the exception and will fetch top dollar. According to a Redfin senior economist, it said notably the condo market is even more biased towards buyers. Condo sellers outnumber buyers by 83.5%. So I don't know about your market, wherever you guys are at in regards to when it comes to condos. Are you seeing anything in the news? Are you hearing anything from your local realtor in regards to how your condo market is moving? I know down here in the Metro Atlanta area, condos are definitely sitting longer. The listings in condos are definitely rising. Those HOA fees are what's killing people. The HOA fees are what's really making people not want to buy a condo per se. Because even if you're buying a condo cash, let's say you're buying a condo cash, right? But your monthly HOA fee is still $700 a month, $1,000 a month. It's like, okay, I just paid cash for this, but I still paying my property taxes. I'm gonna get a property tax, assessment whenever your assessment comes. And then you're also going to pay, and I'm not saying the property taxes is going to be every month, but whenever your assessment comes, and then you're also going to be paying, if you want to, do you have to have home insurance? When you pay a house in cash, you don't, but you might want to have it just in case anything happens. With a condo, it's a little different. And then also you have these condo HOA fees, and then it could possibly be a special assessment. Let's say if the building is older, and we kind of seen what happened in Florida, or what was going on in Florida. The building's been older, and I actually talked recently to it was a home inspector guy, and he went to a condo building and he did a radon test in the condos. And what people don't realize, because most people probably don't ask to get this done, I always tell buyers when they buy a house, especially, to just get a radon test done, because it's a gas that you can't see or per se smell. So get like that radon test done. And so one of the buyers that was buying a condo, they said, "Hey, can we do a radon test?" And they were like, "You want a radon test?" And they said, "Yes, I would like a radon test." So what the inspector had to do is had to go all the way to the basement floor of the condo building and do a radon test. And when they went to the bottom of the condo building to do the radon test, it was this astronomical amount of radon seeping up from the ground of the condo building up to the inside the units per se. And it was a certain condo builder, and they had several other buildings over the town. And it basically cost them hundreds thousands of dollars to kind of alleviate and mitigate that radon situation. And so that in turn then became a special assessment that then kind of went on to the condo residents. And so it's just small little things you want to be aware of. I don't want to scare nobody out from buying a condo, so please, I'm just saying, it's just small little things you want to be aware of. I'm not telling you not to buy one, I'm just telling you what kind of happened. David said we don't have a really big condo market, but I have seen a big jump in HOA fees. Okay, so you guys have your HOA fees are more like the single family residence subdivisions and like the townhome subdivisions as far as HOA fees. Cerinthia said the HOA fees are why I don't even consider a condo or a townhouse. The fees are insane. Yes, the fees are insane, and when it comes to the HOA, and nowadays, especially down here, even in the Metro Atlanta area, every subdivision that's being built by these new builders, they're all coming with HOA fees. Even though you're getting less yard, excuse me, so they'll say like, oh, it includes maintenance of the grounds, but it's like, well, how much grounds are you maintaining? We're getting less yard, there's less space between these homes. If it's a townhouse, you don't have no space in between each other. And then on top of that, you're getting less amenities, so you might not get a pool, you might not get a tennis court. The fees might include, ground maintenance, possibly dwelling exterior maintenance. If so, you might get a little parking lot per se, because some of these communities down here in Georgia, you don't even have enough parking. So if visitors come over, and I don't want, I don't want to feel like I'm a Debbie Downer with the situation. I'm just saying what I see, and what I'm noticing. So I don't want people to be like, "Dad, Devon, you just want you how do you want how do you how do you want to Sorry guys, okay, so this is sending me my code, so I might be able to log onto my computer, my main computer. Sorry guys, let me see. And kind of give me 1 second. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to log onto my main computer while also talking on this computer, but on my iPad. But yeah, so I know people are like, well, how are you in real estate, but you keep down in real estate? I'm not downing real estate per se. I just want people to be aware of what's happening, right? So I don't want people to think that I'm a Debbie Downer. Please don't. What did David say? Does Georgia have high levels of radon? We have high levels of radon in eastern Nebraska. So my clients that have utilized a home inspector and they did the radon test, we haven't found high levels, but we have found levels of radon. There are definitely levels of radon. Of course, you're going to get probably more higher levels of radon too around new construction. And I don't know if people realize that. You'll get a little bit more because with new construction, as you may know as well, David, that in regards to new construction, radon is when you start like when you're shifting a lot around the soil and the earth and all that movement. So that's what kind of releases that gas per se, and it seeps up out of the earth and all that stuff. So even I tell people that's renting, and I know most people don't think about this, but if you go to your leasing office and say, hey, when was the last time you guys did a radon inspection on our building? A lot of these, a lot of the leasing companies or the management people that are in place, they'll be like, well, that's not our job. Da, 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 da. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, when was the last, like, I don't know if you guys let me know, but I don't know if these people come out to these apartment buildings and do these inspections. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. But, I believe radon can create like I don't know. I think it can create like cancer situations and everything. Don't quote me on that, but I just say, just ask questions. That's all I say. I'm a question person. MHOA say Front Range of Colorado is famous for radon. So Colorado has a lot of radon as well. Well, the Front Range you said. LOL. I knew that 4.0 is the EPA limit. Yeah, we don't. I think the last person that one of my clients when they did a radon test, I think it was like 0.5 or something. So they said that the levels weren't too bad. They had, they of course took care of what they could take care in regards to that. But just be aware. David said it's all good. He said MHOA said heard yesterday somebody's radon test came back 11.0. 11.0. Oh wow. That's ridiculously high. Mitigation generally isn't too expensive. He said it can cause lung cancer. Interesting. I didn't know that builders in Nebraska are now required to install a passive radon mitigation system. Okay. Yeah, so I tell people, it's very interesting. I'm gonna see if I can enter my studio on my desktop. I probably should just leave it alone and just keep with the iPad, but because my desktop is still acting funny. All right, let me go back to just stay with the iPad. Because my desktop is acting crazy, you guys. Sorry about that. I apologize. All right. So it says, in regards to condos, so we were talking about the condo market. So yeah, so we are seeing a lot of condos down here in this metropolitan area of Atlanta staying on the market because of those HOA fees, because of the whole master insurance policies. Some of these condos don't have master insurance policies. We're also seeing that some of them might not be able to go FHA. And there's also what people got to realize too about with FHA as well is that there's a certain percentage. And if, well, I don't know, down here, let me preference this. In Georgia, I don't know if this is a national thing, but in Georgia, there's a certain percentage you have to stay under in regards to buyers and investors, like homeowners and investors, as far as rental, that type of, it's a certain percentage that they want to stay in or cap at. So then that way it's allowed to be like FHA approved. Like that's one of the things that they kind of want, they put in place as well down here in regards to FHA. And so a lot of these condos, what I'm noticing now, some of them are not even FHA approved through HUD. So you can't even get an FHA loan for it. He said, David said, a passive system is a radon system without the fan. Okay. Without the fan. Wow. Okay, a pass. So I gotta look that up some more, David, so I can see what they're doing as far as that and that particular system, that a passive system for the radon. MHOA said it usually just involves ventilation. There's a video out there that shows houses with the ventilation stacks. You can recognize them from the street. Okay, I'm gonna have to research more into this. I know, like I said, I'm not a home inspector. I'm not a radon inspector or I don't go around doing radon tests, but it's just stuff that I got a daggone fly in my house. It's just stuff that I thought people should know more about, little small things. But thank you. So now I got some homework to do for myself from David and MHOA. I appreciate you guys for giving me more information around that. So I'm going to do my own homework and look further into that. Let's kind of hit this article back in regards to this crazy market as a home seller. MHOA said pick up a radon test at a big box store. Okay, I will. I definitely am. I'm gonna pick up one and put it out and see what it kind of comes up with the what it kind of comes up with. Hopefully we're not above the levels over here. I know they say about every 2 years you should try to get a radon test done. Now I think that's what the inspector told me. It says why the change in regards to the housing market. It says home prices have risen steeply over the past several years, even as mortgage rates have climbed. Yet sellers continue to have the advantage while inventory remained tight. So there was a point in time, as we all know, that inventory was kind of tighter. It was a lower inventory as well. But what I've been hearing from a lot of people is that we're in a place now, well, more in Georgia per se, and it might be kind of, like I said, it's kind of national, kind of hitting slowly in certain areas, that we're actually seeing a lot of inventory and a lot of inventory coming to the market from builders building inventory, as far as even multi-family inventory, so like apartment complexes, all this stuff. So if you're looking to rent, more of that's kind of popping up on the market. Of course, we got the resale market happening, right, with home sellers that are putting their house up for sale, whether something happened, whether it's a divorce, maybe a death, and something's being probated, or maybe there's a distress situation where people can't afford it no more due to a loss of a job, or maybe different things are happening, downsizing, somebody that's a little older, they don't want to walk up steps no more, they're by themselves, they might not have other family members to kind of take care of them in their house, so they want to downsize. So because of this, a lot of things are slowly but surely happening and popping up on the market. And one thing I could tell about down here in Georgia that I've been noticing lately is that there have been a lot more houses popping on the market where there's been people passing away. There have been more probate sales. And even down here, if you guys don't know, like in Georgia, we've actually hit a whole thing where we have 30% of what's happening in the metropolitan area in regards to buying or single family homes are these corporate investors. About 30% of corporate investors own single family housing in the metropolitan area of Georgia. If you go down more to Henry County, you got about 70% of these corporate investors. But what we're seeing too in regards to this, if you're trying to sell your home, and this is what I've been trying to tell people, and I wanted to bring this video up, and I'm so mad that my desktop can't work, because there's another young lady that she's wonderful, and I listen to her as well. Her name is Melanie Wright, and she's been in the mortgage industry and been reading like the economic, like the data and everything on the consumer, and I believe it's more in like the consumer part, but she's been reading it for a long time, and she said exactly what I was saying. I was watching this video the other day. She was on a podcast, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been saying this, and I don't think people are understanding what I'm saying. What I'm saying. But she basically was talking about how with these investors, and she said, and she pinpointed to the Metro Atlanta area, and I've been saying this to like my colleagues, and everybody's just been blowing me off, like, Devon, like, stop saying that, you're going to scare consumers, all this stuff. I'm like, no, I'm just being honest from what I'm seeing. And so what I've started doing with buyers that I'm working with, I've started creating like I've been doing like a plot map, and I've been like color coding the different houses in the subdivision, and like who the investors, like which properties are owned by corporate investors, which properties are homeowners, and which properties are people that have second homes, and kind of showing like the clients like, hey, look at this subdivision, right? Because what's happening down here in the Metro Atlanta area of Georgia is that because we have so many corporate investors down here, and now if you're trying to sell your home, these corporate investors might have bought these homes, let's say 2 to 3 years ago. During the pandemic, they made a big shift down here, bought some more homes, and they bought a lot of them during the great financial crash, per se. And so what they're doing now is because they bought it cash and all that stuff, they're like, oh well, we want to reorganize, we want to regroup, and we want to kind of shift these our portfolio or whatever to another area, because we're noticing that we're not getting the ROI, which is the return of investment, in this area no more. So we need to shift somewhere else. And so what they're doing is that, because let's say you have a subdivision, and I'm just going to use this as a thing, right? I have a client. We're looking at this one subdivision. There's 25 townhomes in the subdivision, and I did a plot map for them to show them what's going on in the subdivision. There's 25 homes in the subdivision. 21 are owned by investors. That's 84%. I broke it down percentage wise. 84% of the homes in that community are owned by investors. If those investors decide to sell tomorrow, you buy your house at 400,000. Those investors bought those houses. Let's say that community was built in 2019. A lot of them bought it in 2019, bought in 2020, lower. They bought cash, per se, just when they hopped in the market, when they were built, because typically a new construction, if you hop in early, you can get at a lower price. They bought them at a lower price, paid the cash, and then if they decide now, oh, we're not making the return on investment that we want no more. You bought your house for $400,000 just this year. They decide to start offloading their property and sell theirs for $350,000. You are already, excuse me, you lost $50,000 in equity. And so let's say if you just wanted to, which most people, you shouldn't do, but things happen in life, right? Let's say if you turned around, you're like, oh, I want to sell my house tomorrow. There's no equity there for you to sell your house, which messes you up. So it's just those little small things I'm telling people, be mindful, especially down here in this Metro Atlanta area of Georgia, especially if you're trying to be a home seller right now. Be mindful, understand where you're buying at. And sometimes even if you're buying a new construction, because even if you get in early, and I've noticed this too. If you get in early in a new construction level, right, and you're like, oh, I'm the first home buyer, I got it at a cheaper price, and then let's say the builder, the lender they're using, everybody, they kind of go belly up because they're like, we can't afford this no more. Let's just say this happens, and it's happened down here in the Metro Atlanta area. They go belly up, and then all of a sudden, in order to save them, per se, a huge corporate investor comes in and they start buying a lot of these single family homes, and they turn them into rentals. And you think that you're about to live next door to a bunch of homeowners, and you live next door to corporate investment rentals. And it's like, oh, dag. So it's just being mindful. Again, not trying to scare nobody off. I'm saying just do your homework. Do your homework, especially in this particular market. Let me see. David said that would be an interesting video about radon. It definitely would be, David. More people need to get more information about that, radon and all that stuff. MHOA said, I wish I could remember whose it was. Yes, if you remember, let us know. LOL, if you see a white stack on the back seat side of the house, just clearing the roof line, probably radon. Oh, well, that's not that's not good. Get the radon out. Get it out. Lang said, do you think that new construction developments winning over purchasing a house pre-built? So were you talking about, Lang, in regards to like a resale? Are you talking about is new construction winning? So right now, new construction is definitely winning, because what's happening in regards to new construction is that they have a bunch of incentives. Well, especially down here in the Metro Atlanta area. I don't know what's going on in your area in Nebraska, David, but let me know if this is how it's kind of going on in your area. new construction down here in the Metro Atlanta area. There's so many builders down here. There's so many things coming to market now that have been maybe started a year ago. They're finally getting to the area where these new constructions are being coming up. They're having move-in ready properties, maybe a couple units available in the first stage, and they have a second stage, third stage. And so what's happening now is that they're seeing the shift of the market. And so what's how new construction kind of does it, and particularly more in Metro Atlanta. Let's say we're building a new subdivision, right? I'm building a new subdivision as a developer. I acquire my own lender. I say, hey, you're going to be the preferred lender. You're going to help with this particular bill. I'm also going to utilize you to create incentives, but also to buy down interest rates, and we'll pay you X, Y, and Z, whatever. They have their own situation going on. The builder and the lender, the financier, right? And then what they're doing, they assess what's happening in the area. They assess what's going on in the market. And they say, hey, we're noticing stuff at this price point, and they might go deeper than this. They might not. I don't know, but they say I noticed at this price point, what's happening is that nothing's really selling. Things are sitting. That's adjusted a little lower. We have enough space in here, right? We're building these townhouses. I said we're building these townhouses. We were going to put them at 450. Really it only took us about 250 to build them, 250,000 to build them. We're going to put them at 450, but we see how the market's going. We're going to buy down the interest rate. We're going to give some incentives, but we're still going to make at least a good amount of profit. So since we let's offset it, right? Let's say we're going to sell these houses now for 380, 389. We'll still make our money. We'll still be able to give the incentives because we're going to factor all that in. And now what's going to happen is that most people are going to go to the new construction because I'm like, oh, well, why do I want to get a resale house up the street that costs 450,000 with a higher interest rate when I can go over to the new construction, which is only 380. It has the same footprint as far as maybe square footage. I'm getting $20,000 in incentives possibly, and then I'm also getting a lower interest rate. To them, they're feeling like that's what's happening. So what I'm noticing now is that these new construction, because all I'm seeing now is a bunch of new construction where everything's pending. It's like pending, like, and all the resales are sitting way longer because the resales are hitting the market where they're not having these lower interest rates that are being brought down through the builder from their lender. So unless someone is able to give some type of more in closing costs per se, and then talk to that lender to try to see how they could possibly buy down their rate or things like that, more people are going over there. However, that's what I tell people when it comes to new construction. Eventually, your house will be assessed. So make sure if you're buying a new construction that you are talking to at that closing table or before then to that sales associate that's on site. If you decide not to get your own buyer realtor per se on the buyer side, and say, hey, can we make sure we're assessing this property that I'm buying off of resale homes or other new construction that were built maybe a year per se ago or whatever, in regards to making sure the taxes are estimate or like close enough estimate wise. So that way I'm not looking crazy come a year or two from now when they reassess things and now all of a sudden my mortgage goes up because my property taxes, are going based off of the land and not based off of the structure on the land. So I just tell people be very careful and just make sure you're doing all those things. Sorry, I went on a complete tangent, and we're gonna get back to the article in a minute. Sorry, but that's a good question, Lang. David said we've seen a jump in existing inventory. I think we are starting to see people affected by increasing insurance taxes. People who thought rates would go down. Yes, people are definitely seeing that. It's a young lady down here that I'll talk to a lot where she bought a new construction and her lender told her this whole model, which I do not like this model. And it was so funny because I did a home buyer workshop, and I love, I love the lender that I was doing it with, but they also said this model. I was like, oh my God, I do not like that model where it's like date the rate, marry the house, or marry the house, date the rate, whatever it's called. I don't like that because everybody cannot always be able to refinance. Everybody won't have the opportunity to do that because when you refinance, you're going into a whole new loan, which means that you have to qualify again. You have to make sure there's equity in your house. There's a lot of different factors that go into refinancing. And then, of course, when we're in a situation like this where everybody bought because people were telling them they could refinance in a year or two, now you're stuck, and rates are not only going, now rates are going actually a little higher than what you might have bought it. Like somebody that maybe say they bought it at 6.2 or 5.9, and they're like, oh, well, just wait a year or two, it's going to go down. Rate, they have no way, it has no way but to go down, because housing is so high that something has to offset. And guess what happened? Nothing's really offsetting. We have stubborn sellers that are not offsetting their price as far as purchase price. Interest rates are not moving the way that people thought they were going to move as far as going down. And then, so now what's happened is that, like I said, you got the new construction where they're like, oh, shoot, we have to do something because we got to move this inventory because we have so much money kind of attached to the situation, and we might be building another community somewhere else. So yeah, just be, yes, David, is a lot of people are having those I don't want to say buyer's remorse, but that's what's kind of happening. And then the insurance increasing in all these natural disasters, and the insurance is going everywhere. Not even just the home insurance, it's going on to your car insurance now. The car insurance is going up. Insurance companies are dropping people from small things. Like I had a friend who bought a house, and I think I talked about this before on the live. I had a friend who bought a house. They bought the house. They got some concessions. They decided for the roof. They decided they were going to do the roof. They had the shingles on the side. They were doing the roof. An insurance person, an adjuster came over, because insurance companies now, after you buy a house, they come and, I don't know if it's happening in Nebraska, David, but in Georgia it's happening, where the insurance company, they send somebody out there, whether it's a drone for the roof, whether it's an adjuster, and they ride by your house, and they see, like, after you buy your house, within like 30 to 60 days, they come by and they want to make sure the house is, because they're insuring it, right? So, and they saw that he was fixing his roof, and they dropped him from his insurance carrier, dropped him. So the insurance is getting crazy too, getting crazy. MHOA said my homeowners just went up about 140 today, but I cut my car insurance in half. Okay, well, that's good. Typically, I know what they're doing now. A lot of these insurance companies, because they're trying to get the money, they're bundling the auto loans with the home loans. Like I ran into an insurance agent the other day, because yesterday, like, I like to go to like a lot of homeowner events just because I always meet new vendors, new things is kind of happening. So yesterday I went to home owner events, and I just like to see what's going on in the city of Atlanta. I also do they had like a home tour of their new construction stuff and all this stuff, so I kind of went and was doing all that yesterday. That's how it's that's fun to me, right? That's crazy, right? I'm like, oh Lord, I'm old. That's all I do for a living, just go out and just go to these events, just to learn. But yeah, but the insurance agent was telling me, he's with State Farm. He was saying how they bundle, which I already knew, but he was telling me, I guess he was trying to tell me something new. I don't know, but he was telling me how they bundle the auto loan and the home insurance. I'm like, oh, I was just like, okay, but I'm like, I already knew that, but it's always great. You gotta let people talk, because I don't, so they know, because they might say something else that I might not know. He said, David said, don't forget to give the stream. Yes, please give the streams a thumbs up if possible, you guys. Again, I apologize. I'm not on my main desktop, so the articles that I wanted to read, I've been reading off my phone. And hopefully we'll make it through for the hour. Because I gotta figure out how I'm gonna charge this daggone. Hold on. Gotta charge my iPad, because my iPad is starting to die. Let me see. I'm gonna see if I can charge it. I'm sorry, right? I'm trying to plug it in right now. Did it plug? Did it work? Okay, yeah. So we can make it through the rest of this. Yes, please give me a thumbs up if possible, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't. I appreciate you being here with me on this Sunday evening. Croy said, Clark, what's your take on coops? A friend told me, is it coops or comps? I don't know if you meant to say comps or coops. A friend told me to not even look at them. The price is attractive, however, they are too much drama. So I don't know. Just clarify for me in regards to that, if it's comps, because I want to make sure I say the right information that I can to you. So just let me know if you meant to say comps, because I don't know what the coops mean. So and then we'll go back to that. Lang said, is new construction winning? Thanks. Yes, new construction is definitely winning right now, especially in the Metro Atlanta area. It might be different in your area though, so I would definitely talk to a real estate professional in your area and see what's kind of going on. I can tell you by my area that yes, I have a seller that I'm working with now. She's a little stubborn, and but also there's other things kind of moving and moving parts in her situation. But yeah, the new construction is killing her right now. We have builders offering some really good financing incentives, especially volume builders. We can offer below market interest rates. Wow. Yeah. So that's what's kind of going on down here too, David. Like we have builders offering 3.8% interest rates. Last one I checked, I think they were like 4.5%. So these builders down here, they're not playing no games. The one sales agent told me that their builder pays 60,000 to buy down the rate. So I had to go talk to a lender. I'm like 60,000, and then I talked to the one lender, and the lender was like, yeah. They was like, well, if they bought it down for a 30-year fix, and we're at 7% now ish, and they brought it down to 3.8, she was like, yeah, they probably paid about a good 40 to 60,000 to buy on that rate for 30 years. I was like, "Ooh!" I was like, well, then how does that work if I'm buying this house and they brought this rate down? What type of space does it leave me in? If, like, let's say if a home buyer who bought it had to end up selling it in a year or so, she was like, you won't have no equity. Um, she said it probably won't be no equity there. So I don't know. Of course, you guys got to dive deeper into those type of conversations, but always talk to. Um, all right, see you, Zarinthia. She said, "Gotta run. Thank you, Clark. No problem. I apologize. I came on a little late today, so I apologize." Um, MHOA said, "Marry the house, date the agent." Yes, definitely. You want to definitely marry the house and date the agent. Yes, you want to make sure and make sure you're dating the right agent. Um, but yes, that's a good one. I love that one. He said, David said, we are seeing that too. Okay. Oh, co-ops. That's what he was saying. Okay. So you were saying co-ops. That's what he was saying, co-ops. So in Georgia, we're not a big, he said, what's your take on co-ops? Okay. We're not a big co-op state per se. In Georgia, we do have co-ops down here. We're not big, like, more co-op. You kind of see more co-ops in like different cities like New York City. We have co-ops. Like when I used to live in Philly, they have co-ops. Georgia, we have a few co-ops down here. We don't have a lot of co-ops. So co-ops is interesting. What I noticed down here in the metro area of Atlanta in Georgia is that the co-ops are cheaper. Like, so I have a colleague of mine right now has a co-op over in like the south part of Atlanta, and they're selling it for like $80,000. However, financing can be a little difficult, and that's what she's been having trouble with. So no one's buying her co-op because they're having finance challenges. And then with co-ops, it's shares, like you own a share in the situation, right? So it's a whole type of different thing. And down here in Georgia, and typically most co-ops, they have a board per se, and then the board has to approve you getting into said co-op because it's a shared community. You know, different, like I think like the utilities, all those things per se. So it's very interesting. I just say just understand co-ops. It might be tough to sell in the future a co-op, just like condos are right now. So it just depends on how you want to do your co-op. It might be hard to possibly even rent a co-op if you wanted to make it an investment per se. So I say you just gotta understand more about the co-op field. If you find yourself wanting to live there for a long time and you never have plans on moving, then the co-op might work for you, right? But if you feel like down the line you might move, you might want to resell, you got to take all this into consideration. It might be a little harder to sell a co-op, especially down here in the metro Atlanta area of Georgia. But like I said, if you're in certain states where they have a lot of co-ops, it might be easier. Every state is different, every area is different. So it just depends on where you're at, where you're trying to buy at, what you're looking for. But I just say, just make sure you do your homework with it. My take with co-ops is that it just depends on where you're at. I personally wouldn't tell nobody to buy one here down here in the metro Atlanta area of Georgia. But hey, that's just my take. You'll have other realtors that'll tell you go for it. Just because what I'm seeing down here right now, certain things is just hard to get out when it comes to reselling down here right now. So I don't know where we'll be in the future per se, but right now in this Metro Atlanta area, there's certain type of housing that's hard to sell right now. I don't care what nobody's saying. I'm telling you the truth. It's hard to sell. MHOH said that's why I shop insurance unless it's really high. They send out the adjuster and always find something. Yes, I tell people the adjusters will definitely find will definitely try to find something. Um, let's see. Uh, David said they really must eat into their profit. That really must eat into their profit. Okay, you talking about as far as talking about all the things that they're doing. Yes, it's definitely eating into their profit in regards to these. If you're talking about the same thing I'm talking about as far as like the new construction, the builders, it's definitely eating into their profit. But they have so much space, I guess, with the margins that they're like, hey, I'm okay with walking away with at least we're walking away with something. We're not losing anything. So even if we walk away with 70,000, 80,000, and we can't walk away this time with 200,000, at least we'll, walk away with something instead of feeling like they're losing everything by not selling any of it, right? So, or going belly up or foreclosing. So, but it's definitely eating into their profit. I feel like a lot of people are realizing now that what goes up must come down. So I think people really thought that we were going to see this wave and this shift of things keep going high and this high lasting forever. And I don't know why people think that history always repeats itself. Is common, it's the common thing in regards to, like you said, like the nature of stuff. What goes up must come down. So it's always good to put yourself in a good position so when things come down, you have a pillow per se, something soft to land on, right? But sometimes, and it's okay, you know, as people say nowadays, YOLO, you only live one, was it? You only live once or whatever. So, some people are like, hey, I only live once. Take a baseball, hit the ball, and see what happens. And a lot of people, that are successful, that are multimillionaires, have done that. You can't be you can't have fear when you're trying to do stuff in life, right? However, I also tell people, outside of not having that fear, just make sure you have something in place just in case, you know, you jump off the cliff and you don't land on a bouncy inflatable. um you need a signed contract now to date an agent. Yes, you do. Exactly, David. You definitely need a signed agreement nowadays because of the lawsuit that happened last year. You do, if you are working with an agent nowadays, buyer side, seller side, you need to have a signed contract to date an agent nowadays. So that is correct, David. Make sure that so you can date your agent. And also with the signed agreement nowadays, you can date. So you can still date your agent. You just have to have that signed agreement where you can say, hey, well, I know we can do this down here in Metro Atlanta area, or we can do only have the agreement for a couple days, for a week, a month, or whatever. That's what I've actually been doing with my seller that I've been working with now. We've been having our agreement for a month. We've been doing month agreements, and and I thought we were going to be done, but then she called me back the other day. She's like, "Oh my God, you're just a great agent. Well, let's sign again." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, people think I'm weird because I don't know. I guess in this field, I guess I can kind of go a little harder per se, but I don't want to chase people around. I feel like I'm great at what I do when it comes to real estate. I research, I understand the markets, I understand what's going on. So I don't have the pressure of trying to stay on the client to kind of like pick me, pick me, pick me, work with me, work with me. I'm like, I feel like if you want to work with me, you'll work with me. If not, I totally understand. And I wish you, the best with all these other wonderful, great agents around here. So, so some people think I'm crazy when I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's all right if we keep moving. But that's just me. But everybody's different. We don't have very many either. I only know of one. Okay. MHOA said, I've seen Denver come down hard and fast, but it bounces pretty quickly as well. Okay, so you're seeing everything. All right, we're almost at our hour, you guys. 7 more minutes, and then then I'll be done talking. um, so let's kind of get into. And I never was able to get onto my computer. I was trying to log into this computer, and it's still acting crazy. So I'm going to read this other article real quick, this is from Redfin, and it's saying the U.S. housing market has nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers. He said co-ops. Okay, co-ops. That's what we're talking about, David. Okay, co-ops. Um, has 500,000 more sellers than buyers. They said the most on record that will likely cause home prices to fall. So this is what Redfin is reporting. They're saying there's 500,000 more sellers than buyers. If you really put that in a whole context in regards to the whole, like, because this is a national type of situation. That's not a lot to me when nationally. However, we still see, like I said, depending on what market you're in, and just nationwide, things are shifting more to the buyers. But I would thought they would have said like 5 million or billion. I don't know. But let's kind of read through some of this. Said there are estimate. Here we go. This breaks it down a little bit more. There are an estimate of 1.9 million home sellers in the U.S. housing market and an estimate of 1.5 million home buyers. So that's kind of how they're showing like the difference in regards to that. So technically, that's really what 400,000 difference, not really 500,000 difference. If it's 1.9, but whatever. I digress. In other words, there are 33.7% more sellers than buyers, or 490,041 more to be exact. At no other point in records dating back since 2013 have sellers outnumbered buyers by this large of a number or percentage. They said a year ago, sellers outnumbered buyers by 6.5, which we kind of talked about this. They said there haven't been this many home sellers since March of 2020 as well. And they're saying there haven't been this few buyers at any point in records dating back to 2013, aside from April 2020. So basically, they're saying there's, again, as we stated earlier in this, when we were talking, there are more home sellers selling their house on the market right now. So if you're a home seller right now, please, 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 I beg of you, and you could be the anomaly, right? You could be that seller that puts your house on the market at a crazy price and somebody comes along, because the house is always worth whatever a buyer is going to pay for it, right? So you could be that crazy seller that's, because and there are a lot of you guys. There's a lot of you crazy sellers, and I get it as people, everybody wants to see what they can get. They want to test the waters. They want to test the market. And so they're like, let me just see, even though I know, I'm sorry, I got this flyer. I got to kill this fly. Even though I know there hasn't, the household. Look, here go my thing that switched over now. I tell you guys, there's always something. What is going on? My thing switched over. Let's see if it switches back. There we go. Let's see. Am I coming back? There we go. All right. What is going on? What is going on? Lord. Something all the time. Croy said, thanks, Clark. I don't want desperation to cause me to make a bad decision. I just want a small place. Yes. Don't allow yourself to be desperate or rush into a situation. Make the best decision for yourself. I feel like sometimes, and you might notice as well, when you get desperate, you might make a decision that's not the best decision. So take your time. We're in a space where I believe, and again, I don't know what your market is looking like, and I don't know where you're trying to buy at per se, but you might, as you wait per se, things might shift a little bit down more. I don't know where the interest rates are going to go at, right? I don't know. Like, even if home prices shift down, but if interest rates go up, you'll probably still be around the same payment, maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. But I definitely want to make sure whatever you're doing as a buyer in any market, whether it be this market or any market in the future, you make the right informative decision for yourself, and not out of desperation, but out of a sense of readiness and willing and able to make that purchase and feel comfortable with it when you do so, right? We don't want to make decisions out of desperation. We want to make decisions out of a place of comfort, to know that, okay, even once I buy this, I won't have this sense of like buyer's remorse, right? Remorse. Sorry. So yes, take your time, make a decision that's great for yourself. David said, all good now. Okay, yes, thank you, David. Sometimes no decision is better than wrong decision. Exactly, David. Sometimes no decision is better than a wrong decision. And it has to go, and that has to go for anything, right? Not even just housing. That has to go for anything in life, right? Sometimes even God might be, I don't know if everybody believes in God, but I do believe in God. Sometimes, let's say you're trying to do something, right? And there's always obstacles or something's always stopping you from doing it, right? That might be God telling you, hey, I'm trying to save you from making a decision that might not benefit you in the future. So then you might want to take a step back and just relax, allow stuff to kind of go by. And if it's meant to be, it will happen accordingly. Sometimes things do happen where it might not end up always where you want them to end up at, but things happen for a reason. But also, like David said, sometimes no decision is better than a wrong decision. So I agree, David. MHOA said the scariest part of the high mortgage rate is the 10-year behind them. Exactly. So that's what we were kind of talking about earlier in regards to that, the 10-year behind it. I don't know what's going to happen. Even with the Trump administration trying to, make Freddie and Fannie go public and all these things, I'm just like, it's about to be crazy out here, y'all. I don't know. And I don't want to scare people, but baby, these people crazy. It's crazy. MHOA said if you don't think God has a sense of humor, try making plans. Hey, that's God is always going to have some type of sense of humor. So, like I said, I know everybody might not believe in God or whatever. So I apologize if it's something you don't believe in, but that's where I come from as far as my faith. So. David. Oh, thank you, David. Thank you. You said, make it a great week. Thanks for the great stream. Thank you, David. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you guys for being here today. Again, if you're watching this stream back, the beginning of it, I probably will have a moment where I'm on a tangent as far as going off in regards to technology and my Apple products because they didn't work accordingly today, but we made it on this iPad. We went live today, and I appreciate you guys. We are at the hour mark. Croy said facts. We're at the hour mark. Hopefully you guys can join me next Sunday at 7 p.m. I'm looking forward to next Sunday. We have a guest confirmed for next Sunday, so I'm praying that things go as planned and she joins us next Sunday. But she is a legally per se an attorney, and we'll be talking about probate, estate planning, wills, and all those things. So if you guys have any questions, again, she is an attorney in the state of Georgia per se. So she will be answering everything based around, she'll probably give like a vagueness as far as how it works because every state works differently, but you can probably get some insight around different questions per se, and then kind of ask, take some of those questions and kind of reiterate them or ask somebody local to yourself. But I think it'll be a great live opportunity to try to hear more things, especially about how different states have different taxes, inheritance tax, all these different things. So it's definitely a good live to be a part of. It'll be next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And David said, you'll handle it well. You handled it well. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate it. MHOA said, sounds like a good time. David said, that is a great idea for a guest. Yes. So I'm excited to have her next week. Her name is Whitney, and I'm looking forward to her being on the channel. But nonetheless, thank you guys again for joining me this Sunday night. If you guys haven't made over to David's channel, Living in Omaha, David Matney, he has a YouTube channel. Please go over there, subscribe to his channel, hit that notification bell for his channel, watch his videos. He has wonderful videos. Be a part of his live streams. They are Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time if you're on my time, 7 p.m. Central, right? And 5 p.m. Specific time. So please head over there. David has wonderful lives. So don't miss your opportunity to be a part of that discussion as well. And have a wonderful good night, David. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Croy West, for tuning in, jumping in the chat tonight, have a conversation. Thanks, MHOA. Thank you, Lang. Thank you to my dad, James Clark. Thank you to Angela Matney. Thank you to Zarithia and everyone else who joined the stream tonight. I love having these chats with you guys, and I appreciate you guys coming here. Don't forget to hit that subscription button, hit that notification bell, and I will talk to you guys next Sunday. All right. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.